study the organism because every organism is different from other and unique in itself. So the classification is nothing but the grouping of organisms according to their similarity and the differences. The classification also helps us to study the interrelationship between the organisms. Now the science of classification is called as the taxonomy. Now to make it easier to study the classification, we have divided it into the two kingdoms, the two kingdom system and the five kingdom system. The two kingdom system will be explained by Shika.
Now, two kingdom system. As we know, there are so many differences between animals and plants, such as animals are stationary, means they cannot move around, and plants are stationary and they cannot move around. Animals are not stationary and they can move around wherever they want. Plants are autotrophic and animals are heterotrophic. So it is very hard to study them together. So Sir Carlos Linnaeus introduced his two kingdom system, in which they introduced us two kingdoms. First is kingdom Plantae and second is kingdom Animalia, to make it easier for us to study them.
Now the five kingdom system. The five kingdom system was discovered by the scientist called Robert Whittaker in 1969. He told that the bacteria should be excluded from the kingdom Plantae, while the protozoa should not be excluded from the kingdom Animalia. Now he divided the five kingdom system in the five parts: kingdom Monera, Protista, fungi, Animalia, and Plantae.
Now kingdom Monera. The animals or organisms which are included in kingdom Monera are unicellular, means their body is made up of single cell, and they are also microscopic, means they are microorganisms and cannot be seen with naked eyes. The examples of Monera kingdom are prokaryotic bacteria and blue-green algae. Then we will move to kingdom Protista. The organisms which include in this kingdom are unicellular and eukaryotic. Eukaryotic means the organisms which have well-defined nucleus in them and also presence of nuclear membrane around them. The examples of kingdom Protista are amoeba, chlamydomonas, and malaria parasite.
Now we will see the kingdom fungi. The kingdom fungi is nothing but a non-green plant with a filamentous body. Non-green plants are the plants which lack chlorophyll and can't make their own food. And the filamentous body is composed of a thread-like structure called as hyphae, present in the kingdom fungi. Now the examples of the kingdom fungi are the bread mold, yeast, and mushroom. And the kingdom fungi is a multicellular.
Now kingdom Plantae. The plants which include in these kingdoms are mostly multicellular, and they are eukaryotic, and there is a presence of photosynthetic pigment, that is chlorophyll in them, and also the presence of cell wall in them. And as we know, there is a presence of chlorophyll. They can also make their own food. Thus the mode of their nutrition is autotrophic. Then kingdom Animalia. The organisms which include in these kingdoms are multicellular, and they are also eukaryotic, and there is absence of chlorophyll and cell wall in them. Thus there is absence of chlorophyll. They cannot make their own food. Thus they are heterotrophic in nutrition.
Now we will see the classification of plants. That is the kingdom Plantae. We divide the kingdom Plantae on the basis of three levels. The first is differentiating them. The second is the presence or absence of the vascular system. And the third is the bearing the flower or not. Now the kingdom Plantae is divided into two subkingdoms, Cryptograms and the Phanerogram. The Cryptograms are divided into three parts, Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and the Pteridophyta, while the Phanerogram is divided into two parts, Gymnosperm and Angiosperm.
Now we will discuss first about Cryptograms. Cryptograms are the plants which do not bear flower, and their mode of reproduction is spore formation. As Shreya tells us about the subdivisions of cryptograms, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Pteridophyta. First we will discuss about Thallophyta. The plants which in Theriophyta, the plants are primitive and simple. Their body is like thread-like structure, but there is an absence of stem, leaves, and roots in them. The body which Theriophytas have is thallus body, and their habitat is aquatic, and all kind of algae are included in this group. And there is also a presence of photosynthetic pigment in them, that is chlorophyll, so they can make their own food, and their mode of nutrition is autotrophic. The mode of their reproduction is spore formation, and the organisms which include in this kingdom are Chara, then Spirogyra, and then we will now discuss about Bryophyta, the next subkingdom. The plants which include in this one are simple, and they are multicellular, straight loving plants, and they are simple and small green land plants. They have thin and soft body, but there is an absence of vascular system in them, and there is also absence of root, stem, and leaves in them. As there is absence of roots, there is an outgrowth hair in them called rhizoids, from which they absorb minerals and water from soil. Now we will discuss about last subdivision, that is Pteridophyta. They are also multicellular small living plants. They are found in damp places. These are said to be the first land plants, and there is also presence of true stem roots and leaves in them, and also presence of vascular system in them. They reproduce sexually by the method of spore formation and sexually by the method of gametes.
Now we will see the second subkingdom of the kingdom Planta, that is Phanerogram. The Phanerogram are nothing but a primitive seed-bearing plants in which the seeds are enclosed within the fruit. And they do not bear that much flower, but bear in some amount. The male and female parts of this kingdom are called as the cones, and they are separated from each other. Now we will see the two subdivisions of the Phanerogram, that are the Gymnosperm and the Angiosperm. The Gymnosperm are the seed-bearing parts of the Phanerogram, which contains the seed, but the seeds are naked and are enclosed within the fruit. Now the Gymnosperm also contains, and to the Angiosperm, they contain two subgroups, that are monocotyledon and the dicotyledon. Now the Angiosperms are called the flower-bearing plants. Now in the Gymnosperms, we can say that the Gymnosperm contains, they have a primitive structure. And the examples of them are the Cycas and Pinus. Now the Angiosperm. They are divided into two parts, the monocotyledon and the dicotyledon. Now the monocotyledon are also called as monochords, while the dicotyledon are called as dichords. The monocotyledon or the monochords contain only one cotyledon, only one part. That's why it is called as mono. Mono means one and di means two. And from this di, we can say that the dichords contain two cotyledons. Now the monochord, there are some differences in both of them. That are now the monochords, they have a parallel venation. And these have the reticulate venation. Now the parallel variation in the leaves of the monocotyledon are like this. While the reticular venation in the dicotyledons are a bit and have a network of the veins. Now there is second difference, that is they have a hollow stem, and these have a strong stem. The hollow stem is also called as a pseudo stem or the false stem, while the strong stem, while the dicotyledons have the strong stem. Now the third is they have the flowers in a tremendous symmetry. That is the flowers of them are in 3 or in the multiple of 3, that is 9, 27, etc. Now these have pentamerous symmetry. That is they are in the multiple of 5, 27, 25, 10, etc. Now these monocotyledons have a cambium. It is a special type of tissues present in the undifferentiated cells, and this contains the cambium. The secondary growth in the monocotyledon does not occur, while in the secondary growth in the dicotyledon occurs. And the example of monocotyledon are the onion, bamboo, and the dicotyledon are the people, garlic, etc. Now we will see the kingdom Animalia.
Kingdom Animalia. As we know that animals are eukaryotic, and there is absence of chlorophyll and chlorophyll and cell wall in it. Now we will discuss about some categories of kingdom Animalia. First is body design. According to this, an animal like protozoa, which are microscopic, and metazoa, which are macroscopic. Now body symmetry. There are two types of symmetry. First is asymmetrical, which means irregular shape, and symmetrical, which means regular shape. There is also bilateral symmetry, which means an organism is divided into two parts, and one part is a mirror image of another part. And the example of this symmetry are frogs and humans.
Now we will see the notochords. Notochord is nothing but a skeletal type of system present in the backside of the animals containing the vertebrates. Now in the notochord we have two types in them, that is vertebrates and invertebrates. The vertebrates are those which have the vertebral column or the notochord in them, and for the example we can take the mammals and the birds. And the invertebrates are nothing but the animals which do not have the skeletal system or called the notochord present in them, and the example of them are the insect and the worms. Now we will see the body cavity or the coelom. Now the body cavity or coelom, the body cavity is also called as the coelom. Now there are three types of the coelom, that is acoelomate, pseudocoelomate, and the coelomate. Now the acoelomate does not contain a body cavity in themselves. The pseudocoelomate have the body cavity, but the body cavity is not lined with the mesoderm and the epithelial tissues. And while the coelomate is a true coelomate and has a body cavity that is lined with the epithelial cells. Now we will see the germ layers in the animals, that is diploplastic or triploplastic. Di means 2 and tri means 3. So diplo means the presence of 2 layers in the organism, while the triploplastic means the presence of 3 layers in the organism. Now the diploplastic. The diploplastic consists of 2 layers, that is inner layer called as ectoderm and the outer endoderm, and the outer layer called as ectoderm. And in the second that is triploplastic, containing the three layers, that is inner layer, endoderm, outer layer, ectoderm, and the middle layer called as the mesoderm. The next part we will continue in the next topic. Thank you.